Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. You know when you get those replays where somebody has an absolutely amazing battle and achieves a ridiculous score purely by virtue of just being awesome, being in the right place at the right time and doing the right thing? This is not one of those replays. As you can probably tell by the title of the video. This is Dagoon in HMS Minotaur, Tier 10 British light cruiser. It's an all Tier 10 battle on the Greece map. The enemy team begin with a slight advantage in that they have 2 radars to Dagoon's team's 1. Although the 2 radars that the enemy team have are both on board the USS Salem, so it's kind of like the budget Tier 10 radar version, but still it's 2 more. Well, it's not 2 more, it's 2, which is 1 more than the budget Tier 10 radar that Dagoon's team have in their USS Salem. Dagoon is in your traditional smoke Minotaur rather than a radar Minotaur. So there's a slight advantage possessed by the enemy team there. But of course, all of the technical advantages in the world aren't going to make the slightest bit of difference unless you know how to use them. And Dagoon isn't claiming to be some kind of World of Warships genius here. He fully admits that he should have probably died several times over during the course of this battle, and yet somehow he didn't. Well, I say somehow he didn't. The reasons why he didn't are going to become very apparent. There are 2 reasons. First, stupidity. There is so much stupid going to happen in this battle, and it's not that Dagoon himself does anything particularly stupid. I mean, he makes some questionable decisions that, under most other circumstances, would probably have led to his destruction. But there's so much stupid going on around him that he somehow gets away with it. And of course, the other reason is just dumb luck. I mean, if you can't be good, luck will do. So he's slipping into Capture Point Bravo, or he's about to. And he did get spotted by the enemy Midway's fighters, but, well, the Midway didn't want to hang around and continue getting shot at by a Minotaur and a Colbert's anti-aircraft guns. So he's no longer detected, but thanks to the early spot by the Midway's aircraft, his presence in Bravo shouldn't really come as a great surprise to the enemy team. He's preemptively launching his torpedoes from both sides in order to cover the approaches to either side of the island up ahead, here in the middle of Bravo. And just in case anybody on the enemy team has the same idea, he's also popping his hydro. The enemy destroyer, the Gearing, contesting the cap on the other side of the island, has been spotted. So far so good. Here comes the enemy Zhao. He pops his smokescreen, which I'm sure the Colbert with him will be very grateful for, and starts lighting up the Zhao. There's a Salem over there, but the Salem's radar is notoriously short-ranged by Tier 10 standards, so he doesn't have to worry about being detected by the Salem. The team's about to suffer its first casualty, but it's unlucky rather than stupid. The Colbert that's just slipped into the smokescreen behind him, and was also shooting at the Zhao, just got obliterated by multiple citadels from the front at extreme long range, fired by the Grosser Kurfürst. That was unlucky, it wasn't stupid. What the Zhao is doing is stupid. He just got hammered and had made it into cover and then decided it was a good idea to come out again. So that's 1 cruiser down on each team. The Salem who's with him has obviously decided that hiding inside smokescreens is so 2015, and anyway, he did it before it was popular and has instead elected to sail in the open while shooting at the enemy Salem, who's given so much broadside that he's probably not going to live for much longer either. Oh yeah, he's definitely dead. And there goes the enemy team's radar advantage. Now, the friendly Salem's radar has revealed the fact that there's a Conqueror less than 4 kilometers away on the other side of this island. So that's bad. The question is he going to push around the corner? Because if he does, see, this smokescreen isn't going to last much longer. He has to know there's a smokescreen around the corner, and smokescreens usually mean torpedoes. But apparently this Conqueror's made it to tier 10 without actually learning that lesson. Yeah. So that actually happened. It's the kind of mistake you only make once. Well, once per battle. So, thank you to the enemy Conqueror for the free 80,000 damage. Come again soon. Hope to see you on the enemy team in the next match as well. So, Daegoon's thinking about what it is exactly that he wants to do now. He had already made plans to exit, just in case the Conqueror didn't die. And the Salem's still contesting the cap circle, and the gearing in there is being intermittently spotted by aircraft, as is the Khabarovsk, who looks like he's leaving the cap circle. Looks like the Audacious is conducting a dive bomber attack on the gearing, and he appears to be alone inside the cap circle. So, Daegoon asks the Salem in chat, do you want to rush the gearing? You know, we can double team him, go around both sides, catch him in a cruiser crossfire. Radar on one side, Hydro on the other. But the Salem doesn't appear to be interested in talking. Nevertheless, if you look on the minimap, that is more or less exactly what the Salem appears to be doing anyway. So it would have been nice if he could have confirmed it at the point where Daegoon had actually asked him. But it turns out that the Salem doesn't actually need any help. He can take care of the gearing in combination with the Audacious pretty much by himself. Which is just as well, because here comes the Khabarovsk. Now, when you're in a light cruiser, getting shot at by a Khabarovsk is no joke. Then again, when you're in a Khabarovsk, getting shot at by a light cruiser is no joke either. But a Minotaur usually has one thing that a Khabarovsk doesn't. A smokescreen. It's not that the Khabarovsk can't take a smokescreen, it's just that it's got the detection range of a light cruiser anyway. So a lot of Khabarovsk captains will elect to not bother with a smokescreen, and they'll take a heal instead. To be honest, the heal is often a lot more useful. And I'm pretty sure that if that Khabar had a smokescreen, he would have probably popped it by now. But hang on a second, Daegoon is detected. How can that be? Well, it's not down to the cruiser smoke firing penalty, it's more down to the fact that Daegoon has actually sailed out of his own smokescreen in his haste to shoot at the Khabarovsk. This is of course attracting all kinds of unwelcome attention. So he slams the engines into reverse, and luckily British light cruisers do tend to have exceptionally good acceleration, both going forwards and backwards, so he's able to get back into the smokescreen and only loses about half of his health in the process. And just in time too, because that armor-piercing salvo could potentially have severely ruined his day. Okay, he's now finally back in the relative safety of the smokescreen, and he's raining fire down on the Hindenburg up ahead, but you'll notice that there are red tracers crossing the screen in both directions, from left to right and right to left. That's fire coming from the Salem and the enemy Montana. Now that's not the kind of fight that you would expect the Salem to win, unless the Montana was broadside 2 kilometers away with his guns pointing in the other direction. The Salem has gotten himself into a very tricky situation. He's safe from the Hindenburg, but if he reverses, he's going to get shot at by the enemy Conqueror up to the north, and if he stays where he is very definitely going to lose the gunfight with the Montana. So the enemy team pull a kill back, but it doesn't last long because the friendly carrier knocks out the other enemy Hindenburg just about immediately. And this Hindenburg is almost certainly about to go down. It's not just Daegoon shooting at him, he was also being crossfired by Smolensk from the west, and we all know how much fun that is. Hang on, Daegoon, you're spotted. Ooh, your smoke's expired. Ooh, you're getting an awful lot of broadside of that Hindenburg. It was at this point that Daegoon knew he'd fucked up. Now, if Daegoon had been paying attention to his minimap and planning what to do after the Hindenburg had died, he could have pulled a right turn here instead of the left turn, which has left his broadside exposed to a Montana, Khabarovsk, Grosser Kurfürst and Salem. But he fucked up, so he didn't. But there are two things that are extremely surprising about the disaster that you're currently watching unfold. Of the 4 ships that could be shooting at him and filling him full of lead, only 3 are actually doing so. Which leads to the second surprising thing about this unfolding disaster. It's not actually going to be fatal. Well, it is, just not for him, for the Montana. By some miracle, he managed to survive long enough to get his smoke off cooldown. and since the Montana's dead, he no longer has to worry about the smoke firing penalty. Nobody is close enough to see him shooting through the smoke. Now pay attention to the friendly Yamato, who's currently suiciding for no good reason that I can figure out. There's no way that that guy could have possibly anticipated that Daegoon would have survived the fuck-up that he landed himself in, but Daegoon did. Which means that that Yamato is deliberately sailing into what at the moment is only broadside 8-inch super heavy armour piercing salvos from the Salem, but should have also been broadside super heavy 16-inch armour piercing salvos from the Montana. So we have a situation where the Yamato deliberately, and for no good reason that I can figure out, puts himself into the worst possible situation for a battleship like the Yamato, and he doesn't get away with it. But that's exactly as it should be. If you screw up on the magnitude of what that Yamato just did, you absolutely should die. And he did. Daegoon, on the other hand, committed what is arguably an even bigger error of judgment. Except unlike the Yamato, he didn't do it deliberately. But the enemy team don't actually care whether or not you're deliberately or accidentally suiciding. The only difference here, of course, is that Daegoon didn't die. And he not only didn't die, he managed to take another 2 enemy ships down, earning the Kraken Unleashed and the High Caliber award into the bargain. But not content with cheating death once, he's screwed up again. He's left his smoke screen while sitting broadside onto a Grosser Kurfürst at a range of just over 11 kilometres. And of course the Khabarovsk is desperately trying to end him too. Once again, he slams the ship into reverse and sneaks back into the smoke. And once again, he gets away with it. At this point, I think the only thing that's stopping Daegoon from going out and buying every available lottery ticket is the fact that you can't actually pause an online game. Meanwhile, the enemy Grosser Kurfürst up ahead is probably seriously regretting his choice to sail around the inside of that island, given that he's now basically giving broadside to not just a Minotaur, but also a Thunderer. There he is. Say hello to my little 18-inch friends. And another Grosser Kurfürst, slightly further to the north. Rather than turning away and circling around the island, he's elected to make a fight of it. Meanwhile, Daegoon's fucked up again. Yep. If that's a full secondary build Grosser Kurfürst, and let's face it, most of them are, he's actually inside his secondary gun battery range. But the Grosser Kurfürst, if he is a full secondary build, is focusing absolutely everything onto the enemy Thunderer. Well, friendly Thunderer from Daegoon's perspective. In fact, every enemy ship that can attack the Thunderer was attacking the Thunderer. The carrier dropped him with torpedoes, the Khabarovsk is continuing to pelt him with high explosive, and of course he also took the brunt of the full firepower of the enemy Grosser Kurfürst. So yeah, he's probably going to die. There was nothing stupid about that, of course, he just got focused down, which was actually quite a smart move from the enemy team. The enemy GK is the one who actually gets the kill, so there's a little flesh wound medal there for him as a consolation prize. Midway's dive bombers come back looking to finish off the job. They're just a little bit too slow to get the kill, so they dump their payload on the friendly Grosser Kurfürst instead. Meanwhile, up to the north, the surviving Smolensk and the enemy Conqueror are busy trying to figure out who reacts worse to getting shot at by high explosive, and it turns out it's actually the Smolensk. Both teams are now down to 3 ships. But the Smolensk has set several fires on the Conqueror, and he's about to get a flesh wound award of his own, which is going to make life extremely confusing for you lot, because both ships are equally hated, so nobody knows who to cheer for. In another extremely unlikely turn of events, the friendly Grosser Kurfürst fires at and hits the Khabarovsk with his main battery guns, putting him on the bottom and leaving the Midway as the only ship remaining on the enemy team. The Midway's definitely focusing the Grosser Kurfürst down, and that does make sense. For 2 reasons. First, most of the shots that have inflicted damage on Daegoon were armor piercing, which means that most of his anti-aircraft guns are probably still intact. On the other hand, when you're shooting at a target as tough as a Grosser Kurfürst, unless you're in another battleship, you tend to be firing high explosive, which will probably have swept his upper decks clean of most of his anti-aircraft firepower. The second reason is the Grosser Kurfürst is closer, and the Midway can strike the Grosser Kurfürst and only have to worry about Daegoon's long-range anti-aircraft fire, not his medium or short-range. Now what's funny about this is that the Grosser Kurfürst has asked for anti-aircraft fire support, and Daegoon has replied, "Wilco, affirmative." if the Großer Kurfürst would just stop running away from him, Dagon would be in a position to catch up and actually help him out. So, top tip. If you're coming under air attack and you want help from friendly ships who are only too willing to actually help you out, don't run away from them. Give them a chance to help you out. Oh, there's the Midway. Oh, more dive bombers coming in. See, the Audacious could help out as well by dropping a fire squadron on top, and he's got some torpedo bombers closing in. Unfortunately, the dive bombers are going to reach the Großer Kurfürst before the torpedo bombers do. The German battleship is on such low health, but yep, he has fallen victim to the Midway's dive bombers. Meanwhile, the torpedo bombers from the Audacious have caught up, and they are about to drop a protective fighter squadron just slightly ahead and off the starboard beam of Dagon's Minotaur. Unfortunately, that location is going to prove to be about as much use as an ashtray on a motorbike, because they're inside the long-range anti-aircraft fire from the Midway, and they're also attracting the Midway's combat air patrol. So those fighters are only going to last a couple of seconds. Meanwhile, the Audacious's torpedo bombers are now in an extreme high-threat environment, with those anti-aircraft guns and the combat air patrol, meaning that the torpedo bombers only get the one attack off, then they're forced to disengage or shot down, and the Midway has gone undetected, and here come the Midway's torpedo bombers. But we're not quite done with the stupid just yet. The Midway has managed to go undetected. We know where he is, he's on the other side of the island, but you can't shoot at him unless you can see him and get a target lock on him to fire over the island. So of course the Midway carries on sailing and comes straight out the other side. Why would you do that? Midway, what are you doing? Oh, I don't know. I've given up trying to figure out why anybody does anything in this battle. Dagon just earned himself the AA Defence Expert Award there to go with everything else, but we're not quite done, because thanks to that colossal error of judgment on behalf of the Midway, there's 298,000 damage and kill number 6 into the bargain. And if you thought all of that wasn't comical enough for somebody whose errors should have led to his immediate destruction on at least 3 separate occasions, as well as all of that, Dagon also scored more than 4,000 base experience. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And he didn't do it by being good. I think we can all agree on that. And that is why the title of today's video is All Luck and No Skill. And don't worry, he won't be insulted. He knows what he did. So Dagon, thank you very much for being brave enough to send that one in. Everybody else, I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.